Hello and welcome to the Nonprofit Exchange. I'm C. Richard Gilchrist, your host, and today we are just honored to have Mr. Rob in the house. Most people don't know who Mr. Rob is, but I'm sure that all the youngsters out there that have ever been into Yours Ministry knows who Mr. Rob is. And if you want to know what Yours Ministry is all about, Mr. Rob about to tell us that. But you are special. And Mr. Rob, you are special.
Thank you.
No question.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yes, sir. Talk about Yours Ministry.
Well, Yours Ministry is a teenage outreach ministry we do here in the city, working with middle school and high school age teenagers, sharing the gospel of Christ with them, but also providing positive alternatives and activities for kids to get involved in. What we call a holistic ministry. In other words, we deal with kids with educational enhancement. We deal with life issues and things that they go through. We deal with fun, recreational, and then spiritual awareness. Let them know that there's a God out there that cares for them and desires to be a part of their lives.
You know, that is excellent. We're going to break down just each one of them because I know that everybody wants to know, well, how are you doing this spiritual awareness? Because, of course, people say, well, religion shouldn't be a part of, I guess, working with our young people, but it's probably just the best thing to teach them how to be human.
Amen. You're right.
How to be a human being. What book do they go to become a human being?
That's right.
Mr. Rob, you got the answer to that one.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
I know the book that can stand right on top of it and it never fails.
That's exactly right. I ran a youth program in Pittsburgh for so many years, and you just have made me realize that people outside of Pittsburgh are still doing more things with these youngsters, and you have been doing this for how long?
Well, I've been doing ministry with teenagers about 30 years, but here in Norfolk, it's been 20 years.
20 years in Norfolk. So in those 20 years, you've seen a lot of young people come through your organization then.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now tell me about, because the Nonprofit Exchange is based upon people starting a nonprofit organization. How did you get this nonprofit organization started here in the Norfolk area?
Well, basically through God.
All right.
I was in ministry and God was saying, hey, I want you to do more.
Okay.
And I'm going, Lord, what do you mean more? He said, I want you to do more. I want you to get out and do more. And I looked at God and said, God, I'm 50 years old and you tell me to do more.
That's right.
and then I said, okay. And then God gave me the idea of yours. He said, call it yours. I said, call it yours. Why yours? Then he said, when anybody get involved with you, it becomes yours. Yes, I have some great ideas, but I invite people to come and get involved with it, that they can bring their own flavor, their own dreams and vision that God has given them, so it becomes yours. And I just came up with the acronym. God gave me the word yours, and I came up with Youth Outreach Urban Resources and Services Ministry, as a ministry to reach out to the urban teenager and help them to become the best that they can be and understand that there's a God out there that loves them and cares for them.
I'm sure our listening audience is going to be wanting to know, how do I get my youngster involved in what the age group that you deal with? So let's give them the age group and talk about the board members. You had to come up with a 501c3
Yes,
to do this.
Yes, sir.
How many board members do you have?
Right now we have 8 board members.
Okay.
We're trying to grow that. And then as far as teenagers get involved,
right.
We have a middle school piece, normally start with kids 11 years old, we go to about 14. And then we'll allow, some younger kids to get involved that might be in some of the low-income communities.
Okay.
That might be in 5th grade, but, 12 got a little behind. So we try to pull them in.
Okay.
And not let them stay back there, and we'll look at their age and say, come on, you can get involved with us. With the high school group, basically 9th grade to 12th graders that get involved with us. And then in the last 7 to 8 years, we now do what we call college ministry.
Excellent.
And what had happened out of that, about 8 years ago, I had a group of high schoolers graduating. Yes. And they said, Mr. Rob, we're graduating, but we're going to hang in the area.
Right.
What you got for us to do?
There you go.
And I kind of looked at them and said, I got nothing for you to do. And they said, but we want to stay involved. So they now become some of my mentors with our middle school kids and high school kids. And so now we have a college group that we meet late night
All right.
on Wednesday. They said we're grown, so
Right. There you
we
go.
meet at 9 o'clock at night
Excellent.
with our college group, and there's about 10 to 15 that come to be a part of that with us as well.
Well, have you woven any of those into being board members yet?
Not yet.
That might be a good thing to do.
Yes,
to think
sir.
about putting them as board members. That was probably the best thing that I think happened to the organization in Pittsburgh, was to have them become board members after they got out of the organization in terms of being service oriented. So now we know that, all right, you got the youngsters from the middle school and the youngsters from the high school. Talk about some of the activities that they're doing. When I read the Hampton Roads Cassette, by the way, people, if you haven't read the Hampton Roads Cassette, please do that. It's a front page article about Mr. Rob and the ministry. They talked about the trips that you've taken the youngsters on. You even took a couple of youngsters to Pittsburgh. I was like,
Yes,
oh,
sir.
wait a minute.
I got some good
Who'd
friends in Pittsburgh.
Who'd you see in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I had some good friends in Pittsburgh that did that. A guy named Herb Colby.
Okay.
He worked at one of the colleges up there, and we did some ministry when I was up in Newport, Rhode Island. That's how we met.
Okay.
So he's been doing some stuff with us. He actually came down when we went to Lancaster last year.
All right.
Herb came over and did a workshop with the kids.
Excellent.
But yeah, our kids, we are what we call a year-round ministry.
Right.
One time we used to do it based on a school. When school was out, we were out.
Okay.
Then I realized that in September it took so much work to get them back to where they were.
Yeah.
So we decided we're gonna do year-round ministry.
Yeah.
We're not gonna take a break. We'll take a few breaks, but we're gonna stay with them year-round. So with our middle school kids, I mean, we meet weekly with them.
Okay.
And they get an opportunity to experience some things of life and have fun. We do the standard things, the roller skating, the bowling, go to the movies, do the go-kart racing. And then they get a weekend trip coming up in during spring break. They get a 3-day trip, and we take them out of the city and go and have some fun and then encourage them in their faith, but also encourage them in positive endeavors. Then in the summer, they get a 3 to 4 day, 5-day summer trip.
All right.
Last year, we took them went down to Durham, allowed them to see that, and we experienced the Museum of Natural History down there. And that was awesome because they had a thing on race and culture.
Excellent.
And the kids got to see that, hey, even though we're black,
Right.
everybody got a part of us.
Yes, no question. Yes.
They learned that all cultures started in Africa.
There you go.
So everybody got a piece of us.
Yes.
And so that was exciting. With the high school kids, again, they get a couple weekend trips. They get a weekend trip in December. We'll take them to be a part. This December, we went up to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And got a part of that, and then our retreat up there. Then they get a spring retreat, and then in the summer, they get a 5 to 7 day trip.
All right.
And this summer, we're taking a big step now.
All right.
We're taking a big step.
Where are you going this summer?
We're flying out of the country.
All right. Where are we going?
We're going down to the Caribbean.
To the Caribbean.
There's a big youth conference down there.
All right.
We want to take the kids down there to be a part of that.
Yes.
And so we're spreading our wings, and our city kids, get a little scared,
Hey, that's all right.
I'm going out of the country. I don't know. I got to get a passport. What do you mean?
Yes,
oh,
indeed.
my goodness.
Yes.
But we're looking forward to doing that. And like I say, our volunteers work with our kids, trying to be role models for them, trying to be a friend to them, trying to help them walk through some of the things that they're going through. Kids are not lacking for information.
Right.
I mean, they on top of information got it all in their presence, but they need some people to help them decipher what that information is about.
Yes.
How to use that information. What does that information mean to them? Because all of them got these cell phones now. They can, Mr. Rob, I just push a button and I know.
Right.
I look you up, Mr. Rob.
That's right. There you go. Any damn week.
So we try to walk alongside of them and help them decipher some of that, and then try to make meaningful decisions with them. But also we try to incorporate God, that's a friend in their lives that they can have forever.
That's right.
who got their best interests in mind.
Have you had any experience of them taking that information and gathering up scholarships
Oh yeah, we work
that
with
they
them.
have figured out? I had one of my students jumped up and had $300,000 worth of scholarship by the time he graduated from high
Yeah.
school.
We do have kids that are doing that, trying to move to the next level in their
Okay.
education, applying for scholarships, encouraging them to do that.
All right.
I had quite a few last year that graduated at different colleges now, doing very well for us. I got one of my college students now, and she just called me up and said, I've been accepted into graduate school.
There you go.
So, and look like she's applying for a fellowship that I think she's going to receive.
So now I know that you get probably tons of youngsters that want to be a part of the program, but let's talk about your volunteers. How do you recruit volunteers, and what does a person need to do to become a volunteer?
Basically, we try to get out in the community and try to recruit people, some at churches, some in local community centers, trying to get into the colleges. I haven't did that much this year, but trying to get into the colleges and allow them to hear more about our program, what we do. If a person is interested, all they have to do is give me a phone call and let's set up a meeting where we can sit down and talk about being a volunteer and what that entails. And basically, a volunteer, I do look for a year, at least a year's commitment.
Okay.
You know, and then we try to help them to understand that you just can't jump in a kid's life and then 3 months say, hey, I'm out.
Right.
I don't need that type of volunteer.
Okay.
I need someone to say I'm going to be around for at least a year. And then we have exit points that people can leave.
Okay.
Because kids can accept some exit points.
Right.
December, Christmas, New Year, people change, things happen.
Right.
The summer, it's a good time to exit point for kids know, okay, somebody moving on. And they can accept that.
Right.
But,
Okay.
but to hang out with them for 2 months and say, well, I'm leaving.
All
No.
right.
But I do with my ministry, do what I call a come and see.
Okay. Come and see.
Come and see. Come by, look and see if this is something you want to be involved in. And normally I tell people come 2 or 3 times to see if this is something you want to be involved in.
You know, this is a good time to say where to come and see at.
Right.
Where they coming to?
Well, they want to get involved with our middle school ministry.
Okay.
Normally on Thursday nights, that's when we meet with the middle school kids.
Okay.
And on Tuesday nights, normally we meet with our high school kids.
All right.
And then we also do some programs in the schools, what we call the breakfast clubs.
Right.
And so you got an opportunity to get up a little early.
Right. Come to the breakfast club.
Come to the breakfast club and check it out.
All right. So, is there an address or something that they get to?
They can either contact me through my phone.
Okay. And the phone number is
757-589-6503. And or my email,
okay.
and that's ROV as in Victor 178@hotmail.com. Or you can just go to our website, and
And the
that's
website is?
yoursministry.org,
Okay.
and they can contact me through that as well.
All right, we'll repeat that later on in the show, but you're listening to the Nonprofit Exchange, and our guest today is Mr. Rob. Mr. Rob, let's talk about the kind of activities that the middle school kids do. What kind of things are you trying to focus them on, and what kind of activities have you had, in the past with the middle school kids?
Yeah, right now with our middle school kids, we're focusing in on behavior,
All right.
how to act appropriately, speaking to them in positive responses when they when they run them little miles of theirs, and how to deal with those issues. Talking about respect, how to respect one another as well as how to respect adults. And in that, we do different programs with them to help them in that. We try to take them in my program. I try to take them to other people's programs.
Okay.
I mean, I Miss Divine. She's got a thing going on for Valentine's Day.
Okay.
So we bring our kids over there, and a couple of our kids gonna get involved in their program
Okay.
and do a couple poems and that type of thing. Then my leaders, they are mentors to the kids.
Right.
So each one of them might have 3 to 5 kids that they're mentoring. With the middle school kids, we use high school kids. We've got some of our high
great.
school kids that are mentors. And so they get to mentor 2 or 3 kids as we go along. Again, to come along, be a friend, to talk to kids, to share some of their experiences, and then help them through some of the tough times they're going through.
So now, have you gotten involved at all in the middle school with any STEM activities?
Some of our kids, we have encouraged them to do that.
Okay.
I don't try too much to repeat stuff.
Right.
If I can point kids in a direction and go, it's okay with me.
Okay.
I don't own the kids,
Right.
but if I can get them in the right way,
Yes.
then I'm going to go there. So if you're doing a great program and I hear about it,
Right.
I got some kids, my kids going to come over and hang out with you.
Okay.
They
There
can come
you
and hang
go.
out with you. So it doesn't have to be Mr. Rob.
Right.
And
So it's got like affiliates, different affiliate organizations.
There's
That's
different
excellent.
groups doing things. So if I hear what they're doing and if I can put some kids there, then I do that. I do. I get a lot of calls. People who are doing things say, "Hey, Rob, can you bring some kids by?"
Okay.
Sure, I'm gonna bring them by.
All
You
right.
got something good for them?
Yes.
So,
That's excellent. So now the middle school, let's talk about your high school students again.
Mhm.
From the high school students, are you still doing the character building kind of things with them, and are what else? What else are some of the other things they can look forward to?
yeah, I mean the high school kids, like we said, we do a breakfast club where we try to encourage them to do what is right in schools.
Okay.
We try to get them focused on getting their education, moving in that direction. Then we try to talk about relationships. With society today, pretty much anything can go. And so we try to get them to see not everything should go.
Okay.
And so how you have healthy and positive relationships. How do you get along with your parents? How do you get along in a romantic relationship? How do you respect your teachers? Those type of things. And the other part of it is give them vision.
Okay.
That's why we do our trips, to try to take them and allow them to see something different. And sometimes when you go someplace else and you see the struggle going on there, you go, well, my struggle's not that bad.
Right.
Or maybe I need to be doing better. And so we help them to see that as well, that they can go other places and begin to dream a little bit, begin to travel. Just last night we met with the high school kids and was telling them about this trip to the Caribbean, and everybody was going, I don't know if I'm going to go, I don't know what to do, I can't. And so I got to tell them a little bit about it and start saying, you guys got to dream.
Right.
You got to dream. Don't let the money stop you and fool you. We can help get money. You just got to have a desire to want to go. Next thing you know, we had 9 of them sign up saying, we're going to try to go.
All right.
And that's what we're trying to get kids to see, that they can come out of the box. They don't have to stay in there. That they can move forward. And there's people around that want to help them to move forward.
So now, if somebody wanted to sponsor one of those youngsters to go on that trip, how would they go about doing that?
First, I would say hallelujah, praise God.
Yes, indeed.
And then I would say, please contact me at 757-589-6503, Mr. Rob. Or go on the website, yoursministry.org.
So what do you think it's costing to actually take one student?
Well, that trip to the Caribbean probably
Yeah.
cost us about $1,000 or so.
Okay, so if somebody wanted to sponsor a trip for one student, it would be about a grand, $1,500.
About that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many are you trying to take with you this time?
We're trying to take about 12.
About 12?
Mm-hmm.
That's a small group. That's good. That's
Right.
good. There's so many fraternities and sororities out here that would be willing to sponsor that kind of situation. All we got to do is make sure we can ask them for it.
Right.
I mean, the one thing I learned about working with youngsters is you got to learn how to ask.
Yes.
If you don't ask them, they ain't never going to figure out whether or not to do it. So I think that would be an excellent way to support Mr. Rob and his activities. Is for some of you to sponsor one of these people going on a trip to the Caribbean. That would be
That'd
excellent.
be awesome.
You know, because one of the organizations that I work with in Pittsburgh, we wind up going to Beijing, China.
Wow.
It took a group of about 12, 15 kids to that. And that came out of a relationship between our youth organization and the University of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So a lot of times you have these universities and these different organizations out there that want to do something. And the companies, a lot of these companies will sponsor things as long as you introduce the students to their company before they get ready to go on the trip. In other words, how many companies are in the Caribbean? They're there. look one of those up and have a relationship between your students and that company that's already there.
Okay.
Let's say it's Burger King or McDonald's or somebody's got one. They'll help you sponsor the students.
Okay.
So that's been a good way that we found that'll help our students is to get them involved with the organizations and the businesses out there. Because one of the things I got real clear about as I worked with youngsters is I couldn't employ them when they graduated from high school. So I had to make a way for them to have a bridge between every employer in town before they got out of high school.
I like that.
So that made a difference. And I think that the character building that you're doing with the students is just awesome because now they're going to get that kind of relationship understanding. They'll have somebody to talk to about that kind of thing. And that will help them when they get into corporate America, when they get into the workforce, they'll know how to respond back and forth. I mean, because a lot of times the youngsters didn't do that. One of the other issues that we found was really important and was to introduce them through your breakfast clubs, through your mentoring sessions, was to take employers and bring them to those sessions, starting at 8th and 9th grade. And having tours to their businesses so that they now I just got finished interviewing the jail, the Chesapeake Jail Ministry, and I asked the question, how many people in your group have gone over to the jail and actually been locked up in one of them cells? Because it's time for our youngsters not to hear that stuff, but to actually feel it. And to know that, okay, this is what this looks like. So sponsoring a session or two called You and the Law may be a very interesting thing to have your middle school students and your high school students to do.
Yeah, I've heard of the program called Scared Straight.
Right.
And we used to encourage our kids to go there. But we had a few of them come back, I ain't going to jail.
Never. There you go. There you go. And that would turned out to be an excellent way. The You and the Law thing actually gave them an opportunity to meet a lawyer, to meet a judge, to meet these people on a before they got in the incident kind of situation. And that brought them into a whole new different kind of understanding so that by the time they got out of high school, they were fully aware of what You and the Law looked like.
That's right.
And that was very interesting. That's why I said you're mirroring everything that I grew up doing, working with high school students. And I just love your spirit and what you're trying to do with these youngsters. And I think it's important that when you leave, and we're all going, unfortunately, we're all going. And what are we doing to put that in place so that it stays in place? And I think, Mr. Rob, this is the time for your season that somebody grab these youngsters and turn them loose.
Amen.
And have them start to help you raise the income that will take you to keep that organization going. Because one of the things I really get clear about is youngsters, once they grow up, they really do need an income to satisfy themselves. So now we can do one or two things. We can wait until that happens and hope that somebody does it, or we can create that prior to them getting away. So I think that that's an interesting point, that now that you spent 20 years here, that 20-year, track record allows you to ask the question, in the next 20 years, how much do we need in order for this organization to go on for the next 20 years? So that's a 60-year look-see. So take that look-see and say, okay, in the next 20 years, here's how much money, here's how much resources that we need to make this thing go. And then put all those folks in the last 20 years, go gather up all of them and say to them, help me do this or help us do this. And see if that can be a mechanism. Because I think a lot of times we're sitting in that mechanism right now. We're sitting in Norfolk State University. When did it start? And how did it keep going all these years? They must have had some recipe, some mechanism in which they were going to put together. And when you look at things like the University of Pittsburgh and Notre Dame and some of these other major universities, They set up some mechanism to allow that to happen. Well, why can't we? And this is Black History Month, so we're going to spend the next 5 minutes talking about Black history.
Okay.
In your Black history life, what sticks out to you after working with these kids for almost 30 years?
What sticks out to me is actually seeing the kids that have grabbed a hold of this and move forward. And I say that because some of them are now, college graduates. Some of them are making money that I never dreamed about making, and they're doing that. And then many of them also are looking to come back to the community and how they're serving and helping in the community. So I look at that Black History moment as them saying, hey, we got a piece of the pie, but we're willing to help others to grab a piece of it as well. And so I'm so proud of some of the kids that we got involved in our programs that are moving in that direction. When we think about our program and seeing that, we get about 95% of kids that do stay in our program going to graduate, make it on, and at least about 70% of them go on to college or educational, get some training.
Right.
And so that's my Black History moment and piece that I've given to the community.
Yes. And I think that's the most important thing that we can think about in terms of our own, creating our own Black history that says, okay, we work with these African American students over the years. Now what has happened with them? Mm-hmm. And what are they doing? Because most people are going to ask the question. If they came to you right now and said, what are you doing to help the future? The first thing they're going to ask you is about your board members. How much income and how much resources does your board give you? And then somebody says, I mean, the first time they asked me when I was probably in my late 20s, I went to this congressman and asked him the question about helping our youth organization. He said, okay, how many youngsters have you helped? And I gave him this estimate that there was like maybe 5,000 youngsters that we've helped. He said, now what they doing to help you? And if you don't get that answered, people will not begin to continue to help you. Because they say that if people have helped you, then you need to turn around and help the people that helped you. And that's where we have not done a good homework on in terms of making sure that our graduates, people who have taken our services, who have helped you over the years or helped you help them over the years, and not come back and help. And so we have to figure out ways to help them do that right while they're in the organization. So that means if they volunteer some time, have them volunteer some time raising some money. If they volunteer some time, have them volunteer to get some resources, to go sit with some of these companies and ask them. I sit, and I mean literally, got a couple of my 15-year-olds to go and meet with every human resource person in town. And we helped them set up a presentation, so they didn't go in there stumbling, but that presentation was all about what is youth outreach, urban resources and services. They went out and explained that. When they got done with that presentation to various companies like that, one of them called me up and said, Mr. Gilchrist, we are so happy to have met this 15-year-old. We're writing you a check for $10,000.
I can use that.
And you know who the company was, because you've heard Merck and Company for years. They're the pharmaceutical company.
Right.
They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars helping me do what I did in Pittsburgh with those youngsters, because we got the youngsters to go out and say something to them, not just the adults. Get the youngsters to help you do what you're doing, because I think that's training for them. That's exposure to them that they would never, ever, lose, because they grow up, then they're going to be working with some of those people. Mr. Rob, this has been a pleasure to be here with you. And I tell you, awesome. You've been a person that I really admire. I feel like what you're doing is going to be awesome over the years. And what I ask you to do now is just tell the young audience again, how do they reach you? And what do you really need? If you said, right now, I need the following 3 things, what do you need?
Right now, I would need some volunteers,
Right.
especially some female volunteers to work with our high school girls, and then some males to just help out with our middle school guys as well as our high school guys. Right now, we're in the process. A church has opened up a building. We never had our own building, our own space. And right now, we're in the process of remodeling that building that they haven't used in 20 years. And
Where's that building at?
it's going to be at the Lafayette Presbyterian Church on the corner of Tidewater Avenue and Lafayette Boulevard, that big brick church there.
Excellent. So now give them the number where they can reach you at, because they want to come help. They're coming to help.
My number is 757-589-6503.
And your email address?
It's ROV as in Victor 178 @hotmail.com.
You've been listening to the Nonprofit Exchange. I'm your host, C. Richard Gilchrist.